EXA_League_Racing is now live. Streaming 1 franc 24, EXA X3 Season 8 Round 6 - Mexico.
Hello everybody and welcome to EXA Season 8 Round 6 here in X3, and we are at the historical circuit of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Apologies if I've just offended every Mexican on the planet. Here in the country of Mexico, the circuit with the highest altitude of any track on the calendar, over 2,000 meters, I believe. Now, the game doesn't simulate. The thin air, unfortunately, but in real life, this is a nightmare for the teams and drivers to get the cooling into their cars. And they'll be seeing Monza sort of top speeds whilst being on a near Monaco setup, so ridiculous contrast in levels of downforce. The dry qualifying here then.
Don't bring up Monaco dramas.
Apologies, I was interrupted. Oh. Yes, a dry qualifying then here in Mexico. Rather unfortunate, really. Wouldn't have minded a bit of rain. Alas, the first driver to start his lap will be Dion in the RB, as he exits the final corner down what is an incredibly long front straight, about a kilometre long, I believe. Get out your cherry pickers on the left there. Hard braking down into third. Careful with your curb skips. Then back on the power, back on the DRS towards the slowest, or the second slowest section on the circuit actually. All very technical, low speed, all about the rotation. That was, I believe that was too much curb there taken by Dion. Now onto the faster stuff, the sweepers. Middle sector here in Mexico, chuck it in. You should be flat out all the way until the stadium section, so long as you get your line right. Used up all his ERS as he turns it into the stadium section now. Slowest corner on the track, second gear. And if he wasn't a traction control merchant, he'd be squirming all over the place, but as you could hear, he rather is. 1:14.6 then, the target for everyone else to catch. We'll see how long that stands for as Mystic invalidates. Right on board with Dylan in the McLaren as he now approaches the final sector. Of course, the Mexican Grand Prix debuted in the 1960s and was a feature on the calendar all the way up until 1992, I believe, and then it came back in 2015. There's a lot of history here. The track used to be a bit different, not entirely the same, but still kept the same character as Dylan has now Got 6 cents quicker than the earlier margin with a 14.0. Again, Mystic is invalidated. Who will be up next? It won't be Dion because Dion's on an in lap. It'll be Marcel in the Alpine then. I swear that last corner has a name, but I can't remember it. If anyone knows what that last corner is called, do let me know. Marcel goes P2 then, 14.2. Mystic started his second attempt after invalidating. Meeks in the Williams up towards the timing line. Puts his Williams up to P6. He'll be hoping for a rather more competitive lap time than that, I would imagine. Go on then, Mystic. 2 corners to go. 2 corners to not invalidate your time like you did last time. And he's kept it nicely in between the white lines. Sets a 1:15.5. Goes up to P7. Next across the line will be... It would have been White Josh, but he's invalidated. Won't be Chaz either. I thought I was a Red Bull. Maybe not. So I wish there was some sort of indicator to tell you who was on a lap or not, as Marcel just chilling on the inside there. Well, I know we've got the indicator on the timing tower, but some sort of indicator on the track map. As we'll keep with the championship leader then, Rio Harris. Finally breaking his winless streak this season at Monaco. A race where we saw the chicane claim 7 victims. I don't believe was replicated by any other tier. Drivers will be hoping to keep their noses clean for this one if they are to keep their championship hopes alive. Rio goes up to P3 with a 14.3. Speaking of championships, let me quickly get up the X3 drivers' standings. After round 5, Rio Harris has an 18-point lead from White Josh in the Williams. A further 9 points back is Raven. And then a further 19 back is Marcel and Jamie. And then in the constructors, Mercedes lead from 8 points to Williams. You are then 6 points ahead of Red Bull, with then a further 33 ahead of Aston Martin, who are just ahead of Alpine, followed by McLaren, Haas, Ferrari, RB and Kick. Been a few driver changes in between last race and this one. Notable ones that I can pick out being Chaz going from Ferrari to Red Bull to partner Rio Harris. Discord has died again. Love that. Can't see any of the chats. There's no other ones that I can pick out, but I know there is a good few. His ADS pit at the end of his lap. Blaze, hope you were doing well. Welcome in. A lot of these drivers will be on their end laps now. Of course, here in Mexico, the bane of most drivers' lives, I'd imagine, in this race will be the fact that the rear tyres do not hang on round here at all. After about 5-10 laps, they're absolutely cooked. As Rio Harris looks to be improving on this lap time, but he isn't. Over a 10th down, and he's invalidated. Oh, I can't believe it, Rowley. Need to get some penalty points for that. Yeah, Discord's died again, so if anyone wants me, just put it in the chat. I can't see anything. Who else is on a lap? There you go, there's another driver change. Billy's gone from Haas to Ferrari as he approaches the middle sector. Haha. Very easy to throw away a lap here if you're not careful with the track limits, or if you get an awful front lock up into the stadium section. Always used to hate that corner. Billy goes just behind, oh pardon me, his teammate into P8. And we missed Dylan's lap there, but he has just gone up to P1 by nearly 4/10. Very good lap there from the McLaren. Meanwhile, both the Aston Martins chilling in the final sector, one after another. Maybe go for that cheeky toe. As Miller goes P3 with a 1:14.1. Total chicane death count was 16 and 7 of them were in X3. Oh. I don't know whether to take that as an achievement or not. To have nearly half of them, as Spinella King now goes up to P1, displacing Dylan by just over 1/100th of a second. It's going to be a tight one, this. Obviously very short lap. High 113s for some. Means that every corner means an awful lot more. Nail every apex, nail every braking zone. And you might just find yourself in a good spot for the race. Only 2 drivers yet to set lap times. Them being Caron and Luigi Sven. Although I think they are both about to set their laps in the next minute or so. But for now we will move to Felix, who was invalidated. And we'll go to Owen then, in the Haas. There's a beautiful lap from Spinella King. Now Owen goes P2. Is the track ramping up? 2 big improvements. Up to P1 and P3. And should a few of these drivers perhaps be concerned as to how safe their lap time is? As Meeks improves his time but not his position. Caron goes up to P13, which means Luigi Sven is the last driver to be able to set a lap. As he comes across the line up to P15 for the kick driver. Well, Raven, if Raven's joining, he may get 1 lap, but he will only have 1 lap, so we'll have to see what he can do. If you exclude K Mossy at the bottom, the entire field of 18 separated by 1.4 seconds. And the top 8 separated by half a second. Very close here in X3 as usual. Although we will have the natural lull, of course, as the drivers prepare for their final runs, make their way back to the pit lane. Who do we think is in dire need of a good lap time here? From the prior races, I think that Nick should be a lot higher up than he is. I think that our championship leader should be higher up than he is. And he is now going on to a lap, so we will ride on board. Really needs to pull a lap out of the bag here. Very close in terms of times, but a couple tenths here could be the difference between P9 and P3.
This squarely really is a hit or miss with how close it is.
All it takes is one misplaced tyre over a track limit, one putting on your throttle too early, any small mistake and he's down again. 68 1/1000ths down. It's not looking good for Rio. And when you see that red delta, you'd try and push more, but sometimes it's just not there. Gonna need an almighty middle and final sector if he's to trouble the top 5. We'll see what the split time is.
Absolutely horrid lap. Dying. Has a dying hater in having a jolly time lately.
Is that the same guy who's the co-owner? As Rio comes round the final corner, which I swear has a name, but I don't know what it is. That's more like it. Up to P3 for the championship leader, 14-0. But everyone else will be coming along behind him now. I don't think Dion improved his lap.
Rio Harris, the son of Chris Harris. Yes.
Professional Dion hater is Rolo. Yeah, that's not why he made EXA. EXA is purely so that he can hate from Dion. Well, we'll see what happens, Dylan. Just over 100th of a second you need to find now. No pressure. I think Billy has backed out of this lap. As everyone is, look at the middle sector. How are any of these guys going to get a lap time in? They're all so close together, and if anyone comes up behind them, I really do feel for them in terms of traffic.
Yes.
The Great Caterpillar of Mexico. Look, they're literally starting behind each other. One behind the other. People are going to be tripping over each other the whole time, I can guarantee it. As Rio is going to try again. Perhaps with the aid of a tow from Chaz, who's just gone P3. This is going to be an incredibly close finish here in Mexico City. Raven's even going to get a crack at it, my goodness. Anyone could take pole here, and we will not know until the checkered flag falls. That is anyone apart from Dion, who's still in the pit lane, and ADS. So both RBs are not in the pole fight, but everyone else is. Oh, I'm completely unbiased, Dion. I don't know what you're on about. As he will be the first one up across the line. I believe it'll be Billy in the Ferrari. Sorry, no, it'll be White Josh who takes provisional pole in the Williams. Billy can't improve his lap time. Chaz is invalidated. Rio's got traffic. Rio's got traffic in the Red Bull, and if they're on a lap, they don't have to get out of the way. Where's it going to put him? He can't improve. Well, he does minorly, but not by enough. Owen's invalidated. So has Millard. What can Marcel do in the Alpine? Up to P4 for the Alpine. What about Dylan, the man, the myth, the Twitch boasting legend, goes up to P1 with the exact same time. The exact same time. Swiftly beaten by Spinarlicking by 2 1,000ths. What in the Jerez 1997 have I just seen? What in the Jerez 1997 have I seen? The top 3 separated by 2 1,000ths of a second. the top four separated by 66 1,000ths of a second. What an end to the round 6 qualifying here in Mexico. Here in Mexico City, pardon me. Look at the gap. Look at the gap. That's ridiculous. 3 people, all in different countries, different setups, different everything. And what separates them? 1/10 of a blink of an eye. Raven unfortunately didn't manage to get a lap in there, but he will be licking his lips, I'd imagine, anyway, knowing his ability.
1/10 up the whole lap.
That's mental, though. If you think about it, Dylan, that's one microsecond of traction, one tiny little mistake. That's 2,000ths. It's that easy. He'll be kicking himself.
Since when did gingers get as much confidence as you? When Ed Sheeran went mainstream. P3 is basically pole here too.
Oh yeah, you could say that. You could say that. I might have to reserve one day, try and shut you all up. I think if I was to race, I would be an X3. I am around about this pace on most tracks, so it would be interesting. It would be interesting to see where I'd end up. I have to rope in someone else to do comms for a week. Alas, the drivers, when I was putting on their setups and their strategies, ready to go here with the formation lap, I nearly did it again. Oh no, it's not. What happened to formation lap? God knows. But we're underway here in Mexico. I was not expecting that. Let me get on my details. Oh, it's like a swarm of bees coming out of turn 1. Is anyone going to fly like Sergio Perez? Not quite. It's Vinala King and Dylan try and go side by side. And Dylan maybe was correct in saying that P3 is basically pole here. Because he's gone from P3 to P1. Brilliant call from the McLaren as we're still side by side into the bottom end of the circuit. What a brilliant camera angle this is. Round the base, double apex right-hander. They still haven't sorted themselves out. And we're getting to the fast sweepers now in the middle of sector 2. Only now are they all single file. Track limits are going to be a key player here in this race, as Raven's already made up 2 positions. Keeping your car in between the white lines could be the difference between a podium and P10. Can we complete the first lap? Just looks like KMO's had a slight incident. He'll be hoping for a safety car. But for now then, as we look at this swarm of angry bees once again hurtling towards turn 1, KMO retires, clearly being involved in an incident now on lap 1. Dylan now has the rather difficult task of holding back 18 very not patient X3 drivers. We'll see if it's a task that he can live up to. As we'll watch him through the quick corners of the middle sector here. Of course, these cars laden with fuel. Not going to be easy to handle through here, especially as the tyres no doubt overheat. I'm sure that any of you who have raced, any of you guys who have raced Mexico know that after a few laps your tyres turn to chewing gum. So we'll see what happens. Thankfully it is a relatively quick lap round here as Dylan sets the new fastest lap. matched by Marcel and then beaten by 3 thousandths by Millard. Honestly, try and slide a piece of paper in between these guys. I'm pretty sure you won't be able to. And in terms of DRS, the top 6 have now broken away from Caron in the McLaren. Of Rio, our championship leader, will not be wanting to go for any risky dive bombs as he goes side by side with Owen in the Haas. He also doesn't want to lose the train here, because if you're not in the train, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's very, very difficult to make progress here in Mexico because the DRS is just so powerful. I reckon you could be a second a lap slower than the car ahead, yet still the car behind will not be able to catch you. Because you're just being dragged along by DRS all the time. Spinella King now at the front of the train, picking up the pace. Goes 1 second faster than the lap before. See if the drivers behind will be able to respond. The yellow flag down at turn 1. Don't know if someone's had a spin there or not. Some sort of incident down there, and perhaps involving Nick. Raven's progress is slow. Not as quickly making up positions as I thought he might have, but we'll see where he ends up in 32 laps time. Caron and Felix just perhaps battling too much in this early stage, and unless there's a safety car, even though it's only 2 seconds, here in Mexico it's very, very difficult to close up to the car ahead when you are not in the DRS. Luigi's down in P18. I think he qualified P18 as well. Well, like, he was right down there, so I'm not surprised that he's still down there. I was once again playing the old game of after you, sir, no after you, which I fear we may come rather accustomed to over the next 31 laps, as it will just be continuous DRS throttling all the way through this Mexican Grand Prix. You'll go on to the main straight in P1 and you'll probably end up in P3 by the time you reach turn 4. Then it's just about surviving the middle sector, as no doubt these tyres are probably already on the warm side.
Caron goes off in S3 and just lost another point. He never gets back. Very bad racecraft.
The thing is, it's so difficult round here. If you're not in DRS, it's basically impossible. As Mystics had an incident in the middle sector, I wonder if that's due to tyres. You have to be so much faster. Like upwards of a second and a half per lap, if you want to gain on a car in DRS. It's ridiculous. Rio just biding his time at the back of this train. Again, not wanting to go for any rash moves. But he will have to start thinking about perhaps if and when those moves have to be made, as Marcel's apparently running this game in a McDonald's. Because my god, that's a lot of lag. Oh, I believe Millard's had an incident. Both Aston Martins having incidents early on. And that's a front wing gone as well for Millard. Not what the Aston Martin team would have wanted. That'll be an early pit stop. for the British team. Back up front then, we'll ride on board with Spinella, and you'll find just how powerful DRS is in this game. Not even deploying ERS, and Dylan goes past as well. With ERS, he'd have managed to get into the US by time they've reached turn 1. He'd have probably been upwards of half a second clear if he so wanted to be. As Miller becomes the second retirement here in Mexico. This secondary group, I'll call it a secondary group because they are still a swarm of bees, are just falling ever further back. And even if Caron was to break DRS and go as a lone wolf, there's just nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing you can do. He's got no ERS, tyres probably going. He's just a world of pain for the secondary McLaren, at least in this race. There's been another one that's gone off in the middle sector, I believe it's Meeks, which Josh will not like to hear, as he goes past Dylan into P2. They go 3 wide. Oh my goodness me, that's not going to end well. That's not going to end well at all. How on earth has no one just spontaneously crashed? And Rio Harris picks up the pieces. As Meeks has retired in the pit lane, becomes a third retirement. If the Dylan moves over there, they're very, very lucky. Very, very lucky that that wasn't a massive collision into turn 1, as Mystic becomes the fourth retirement then. Both Aston Martins out here in lap 8. And they'll be hoping to come back next week and have a rather better afternoon. Where are we off to next week? Please let it be a good track. Riding on board with Felix. He will try and go for the move down into turn 1 on Caron. And does so. That straight is so long. That straight is so long. And they've all been in the pits. So what that says about people's patience in this tier, potentially, I'll leave you guys to decide. But you know, there's still 30 laps to go when some of these guys retired. Plenty of time for anything to happen.
Great week next week, then it's Monza.
Oh, not Monza. Not Monza. Honestly, rather than commentating the race start, I will sit back with a bucket of popcorn and just count the deaths. Although at least it'll be better than an open lobby. Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be better than my open lobbies. Because my god, you may as well spin a roulette wheel if you want to find out your outcome of surviving turn 1. But here's the more unfortunate side effect of being in a DRS train. If you're Marcel, if you're Rio, even if you're Owen, you'll find rather quickly that unless you dump your entire battery, you'll be rather stuck where you are for most of the race. As Dion becomes the first driver to come into the pits, that seems early to me. Seems like a very early stop.
The undercut will be mighty at the front.
Rowan makes a very good point. The undercut here can be worth upwards of 2 seconds a lap. But the tyres literally drop off on a cliff edge, so whatever undercut you gain, you'll most likely have to give back later on. So do you get rid of the pain now and have it later, or do you just go a bit longer on the mediums and guarantee yourself that your hard tyres will last till the end? Into turn one, they're just getting a bit restless. Dylan needs to be careful here that he doesn't lose the DRS, and thankfully just gets back into flow. If you lose DRS, if any of this top train lose DRS during this pit stop phase, they will rather find themselves in no man's land, I'd imagine.
Jumping from 6th to 1st is worth it for 1 lap wear.
And if you're Dylan, you could go for the undercut now. Could go for the undercut, because if I pull up the gap between everyone, only 2 seconds, so it could be done. None of these guys have to worry about a double stack, so they can pit whenever they like. Will we see any of them in this time?
On track and swap DRS.
Nope. Oh yes we are. Spinala coming into the pit, the first of the top 6 to pull the pin. Going on to the hard tyres. Hopefully he can come out in some sort of clean air and push like mad on those new hard tyres. I don't think there's anyone around him. He's come out ahead of Luigi Sven, and he's got a nice gap to the battle of Nick and ADS. Lovely timing. These guys, I'd imagine, will follow suit this lap. Otherwise, they may find themselves 5-6 seconds off of Spinala once they all come in. These rear tyres must be absolutely fried on all of these cars. Unless they've managed to find the magical setup which applies ice to them, which some people apparently have. I personally, my rear tyres completely go after about 10 laps. But, oh, that might be looked at by the stewards. Owen rather forced into the pit lane there by Marcel.
That's removed for sure.
It's removed unless, if we get a safety car now in the next 23 laps, you realistically have to serve it. So we'll see what happens from here on out. But Spinala's undercut really isn't as much as I thought it would be. 1.6 seconds. And now he's stuck behind the battling ADS and Nick Kirchhoff. Needs to clear these two quickly. Can't let them impact his race time. But they are going to hold him up through the slow section. He's pushing him through. Pushing him through. And you can't overtake in the middle sector. You cannot overtake through the middle sector. And Josh, has there been an incident? I think ADS has been spun out somewhere, whether it was someone forcing their way through, I don't know. But Josh is now completely caught up to Spinala, who's been rather completely held back by the Mercedes. Could this be a race-defining moment here for Spinala? Being held up behind the Mercedes for half a lap as the rest of the top 6 now come in. Billy is your net leader as Josh follows Spinala through. Or how a safety car would change the proceedings. Few drivers yet to pit. and a few drivers with catastrophic penalties that may or may not have been a fault of their own or not. But regardless of if it's your fault, if you have to come in and serve it, then there's not really much we can do, I don't think. Lap 14 there here in Mexico City. Most of the drivers in this X3 field have pitted, with the exception of your top three and Luigi's fan, and also Nick. Spinella is your net race leader as he sets the fastest lap of the race from White Josh in P2, net P2. Behind them, 2 seconds back, is the rest of the prior top six group that you may have seen a few laps ago. And unless these guys really start working together, we could find ourselves in a two-horse race, as DRS here is incredibly powerful, worth upwards of 1 second a lap if used correctly. I feel like this group has gotten bigger. It's gotten bigger since the pit stops, or am I just imagining things? Someone managed to latch onto the back. As I'll soon be coming up on traffic. I say traffic, it's your P1 and 2. Of Caron and Soul Demon, Soul Demon being on the hards, who will be looking to go longer. And this is, again, no blue flags. These guys have every right to be there. They are your P1 and 2. But for Spinella and Josh, this is the crucial moments of this race. Navigating the yet to pit traffic. And Spinella just tapped the back of Soul Demon there, too late on the brakes. Couldn't quite get it stopped. And he should now go down the inside of the Haas, but maybe just getting a bit impatient. Though the Haas is going to fight this, he's not going to make it easy. By no means he's going to make it easy, as he defends like a lion. Even still towards the middle sector, but surely he's going to have to give it up now. Still there as Josh will force his way through. He does not want to lose. Soul Demon, Spinella here. He might have to now though, as Caron becomes an inadvertent roadblock. That's unfortunate, Ellen. The unfortunate roadblock, and is this the chance for Spinella to go? As Marcel picks up a 10-second penalty, not sure what's happened there. But look at this, one sector of being held up behind a slow car.
Ellen making us bang.
And Josh very nearly lost DRS. We're halfway through this race and we have a 7-man DRS train for the win here. Some of them are yet to pit.
This track is just shit.
As Dylan gets past his teammate.
Why the hell did Marcel retire? He was top 6.
Marcel had a 10-second penalty. That may have been a reason for it. But then again, you probably would have ended up in the points regardless, so not sure. Well, it depends what happened. I didn't see. Yeah, it might have been 2. And we saw Owen get rather pushed into the pit lane, so that penalty may be removable if we don't get a safety car. But for Rio Harris, look at the gap top left. He's very nearly lost DRS to Dylan there. We'll clamber back in though.
And I think he's the one who pushed into the pit, so don't think his pit pen was removable.
You see a lot of these drivers shifting backwards and forwards out of 8th gear along the straights. You may be wondering,
Pin was pushed.
why on earth are they doing that? Well, if you watch the ERS bar, which is at the bottom of your screen, down the straights, you'll notice that it begins recharging a lot faster. We'll see if we can find it now. Be better down the main straight. You'll notice that this is how these drivers are recovering a lot of their ERS. Whereas normals like me and you will be crying because of lack of ERS. These guys just generate it out of the blue. I'll just shut up a minute so you can listen. Of course, the one time I try and show you something and they're not doing it. We'll try on Spinala. I think he's doing it a lot.
The car behind does it no.
I don't you just love trying to show somebody an example of something that they've been doing all race, and then they all of a sudden don't do it. We'll see if I can point it out next lap. But yeah, even though the gap is only 1.5 seconds between
Main straight.
Spinala and Dylan, I'd already call this pretty much game, set and match 2-horse race.
Everyone enjoying sets too.
2-horse race here on out unless something crazy happens, because to get half a second back really is difficult round here when you're not in DRS. I may be proved wrong. I hope I'm proved wrong, as we will go on board now with Spinala so that I can point out the gear shifts. Which once again he's not doing.
Half the grid.
Honestly, if these guys just heard me say that I'm going to talk about something and they're just like, nah, I'm not going to do it ever again. But yeah, when you shift up and down gears, you generate ERS quicker. That's the premise of what I'm saying. Caron becomes the latest to pick up a speeding penalty and swiftly retires, although he was in the points. How much of the race do drivers have to complete to be eligible for points? We'll see if we can work it out.
80%.
80%, and does anyone know what lap that is? I mean, if I could have a guess, it would be like lap 29.
Yes.
Yeah, lap 29. Is Spinala even on lap 9 lap old hard, still setting fastest laps than they need to, with Rio absolutely motoring behind, trying his damnedest to get him and Dylan and Owen back into the DRS train. It's just not going to happen though, I don't think. I think they're fighting a losing battle. And into the slow stuff we go once again. Must be agonising for Dylan and Rio. They're so close. So close to that DRS, but there's just nothing you can do. Because the entire middle sector's flat out and the rest of it's just slow stuff. Most of which is with DRS. Yes, I do question how people can gain so much with the middle sector here. Well, it's one corner pretty much. And I guess the slow bit as well, so, you know. That's where they gain it all. With their fancy double turning. Oh, pardon me. 14 laps to go then, here in Mexico, as Rio picks up a 3-second time penalty. I think you've been cursed. The owner's curse has jinxed him. Importantly though, or importantly for Dylan in this case, he has achieved the impossible and dragged them back within DRS.
Ryan will finish the race.
Of course he immediately goes to attack Dion. The Dion hate is unmatched. He's only just within DRS. And only 11% ERS to work with. Probably shouldn't have said that, but oh well. Could be worse. What was once a top 2 is now a top 5. Although my driver of the day has probably got to go to Raven at this stage. Up 14 positions after starting from the very back of the grid. Brilliant recovery from the Mercedes, albeit being 11 seconds back off of this top train. So what order are they going to come out in then? I'll let you do your predictions, and I bet they'll be wrong. You can try anyway though. Oh, that's a very late move there from Rio, really trying to force his hand and forcing the Ferrari off the track. Thankfully no penalty for Spinella. There you go, you saw it then. Shifting up and down to get more ERS regeneration.
Josh is a very smart driver. I think he'll get it.
Well, we saw, when was it? It was it in Austria? No, it wasn't. I think it was somewhere. He pulled off the strategy of the century. I think it was Monaco actually. It was somewhere. I think I'm getting him confused with another Williams from another league. But we were in Austria. Bone dry track for the last like 6 laps. It just finished raining. Stayed out in the inters and won. So the strategy calls can really affect everything, as the double overtake very nearly for the Haas of Owen. Oh, as he goes nearly for a spin. Brilliant catch there from the Haas. But all his hard work has been undone. With the penalty as well, the podium looks unlikely. He's in a direct battle with Rio, of course. And once again now, with the tyres being at around about 14 laps old for some of these guys, they may just be starting to overheat a bit. As Owen picked up another 3-second time penalty.
Season 3 I reserved X1. It was Bone Dry and 10 minutes before light rain, I fitted for him first. Bone Dry is tough, and it only started rain.
Because I've had it before, it's literally, if it starts raining even a couple laps after the safety cars come in, you'll still be fine. And there's been an incident with Billy, I believe, who's had an incident out of the final corner. May have been a spin, may have been a collision. Not good though for the second Ferrari. Even if you can get away with being on the wrong tyre for a couple of laps, you're not going to lose a pit stop gap in that time, and your tyres won't actually wear that much either, so you'll probably get away with it. As I've completely missed this, Josh has pulled a blinder and absolutely broken DRS. So I don't know if they were battling in the middle sector, I don't know what happened. But unless they can get back in DRS this lap, then Josh has pretty much won the race. It's pretty much over unless Elwyn can get back inside, which he might just be able to actually. But what an attempt from Josh nonetheless to break free. I wonder if a few of these drivers are running a very low wing setup compared to a high wing setup. Generally the setup is quite high wing round here. But we are seeing a lot of people who are just flying past on the straights. Dylan picks up a 3-second penalty. Which now means that, let me get up the penalties. Oh wow, okay. Owen was out of it anyway. I'm not sure where Owen's picked up those penalties from. But the podium as it stands is Josh from Spinala from Rio. Rio and Dylan battling for the final spot on the podium. I did not realise that Owen had 20 seconds worth of penalties. 10 seconds for track limits, baby. Billy spun backwards into the pits. Where are you getting this information? Funny how I've even activated my PlayStation voice assistant. But you don't have access to the onboard, do you? Unless you're watching through the other guy. Oh, is Anad streaming it on YouTube? Fair enough. There's Josh's... Well, Josh has one job. Stay ahead of Spinala and you win the race. And don't get a penalty. So if they're streamed to YouTube, why are they uploaded from Twitch to YouTube? Unless that's just a little stream for you. Top 5 still together then. And the list of drivers without penalties gets ever smaller, with only 4 drivers yet to fall foul of the track limits. Those being Josh, Spinala, Raven and Nick. You'll also notice that we've lost the voice reader because when the PlayStation voice assistant activates, it just cuts out for whatever reason, so we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. This is Spinala's time. Josh hasn't covered the inside. Josh hasn't quite covered the inside. And Spinala's through. Spinala taking full advantage of Josh not being in the correct space. And could that be curtains for Josh in terms of winning? Have those tyres just dropped off? Has he pushed too hard on them? He's fallen off an awful lot in the middle sector. Spinala will be begging, itching to get past the top two, to get to the cars between them. Is there another twist yet in this Mexico City tale? 5 laps to go here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. A yellow in the middle sector, I believe it's Soul Demon who's had a Spinala. Hopefully the Spinala doesn't have a Spinala, but I've seen weirder things happen. He's in the correct car as well. And these drivers now, they'll be in their endgame mode, endgame mindset. How do you round out a race? Where do I want to be in this train on the final lap? And for someone like Josh and Spinala, and even Dylan, who is, you have to remember, still in the battle with Rio, where you end up in a few laps' time will be entirely dependent on where you end up now and the progress you can make over the next few laps. Well, to be fair, they'll still get points. Everyone who finishes the race from here on out, even if you retire, will still get points. And you have to think that Josh is just biding his time. They've got to do slightly longer than they have in my league. In my league, they've only got to do 75%. We're given the right old luxury. Spinala's hard tyres now just hitting that 20 lap old mark. And you must say those tyres must be, let's say, not in the best of nick. Because everyone here should be saving ERS for those final few laps, for the big push for the end. Is Josh going to go for a move this lap? I don't think he is. Nowhere near close enough. Rio's gone wide. This is going to bunch them all up. Maybe that was Josh's time. But couldn't quite get his nose underneath the Ferrari. Every corner now, Josh must be thinking, where can I get past? How can I get past this man without being repassed merely corners later? You see, he wants it. Not slacking back anymore. think he thought about it then. He was deploying his DRS. Dylan's fallen back. 3 laps to go. Top 2 swapping again. Owen must think that all of these penalties can be removed. He's literally fighting as if he's in the fight for the win directly. When I don't actually think he'll even finish in the top 5. Yep. Owen's got 26 seconds of penalties, so the 2 races being Spinella versus Josh and Rio versus Dylan for the final 2 steps of the podium. And Dylan now, this is crucial, tries to go down the inside of Josh. This could be a massive moment in the context of the race if he can pull it off. Just disrupting Josh. He can't get on the back of Spinella now. If that was the lap where Josh wanted to go for a move, he's not going to be able to pull it off. And he's being passed very nearly. Josh is going to have to use up all of the RS that he would have liked to have used to pass Spinella in defence. Well, speaking of, Spinella had a horrible turn 1 and 2. I feel like Josh should have gone for it then. He had the overspeed, he had the exit. And with only 1 lap to go, do you really want to leave it all on the last lap dive? I was saying earlier on, with the split setup, some will go high wings, some will go low wings. And Josh's wings appears to be that bit too high. Not quite able to get that outright top speed. As we head on to the final lap then. Here in Mexico, look at the weaving. Look at the weaving from the top 5. Or top 4 because Dylan's a bit further back. Your top 2 is not the battle for the win. It's the battle... Well, it's not really even a battle. It's a battle for no reason. The important battle to focus on will be Spinella and White Josh. Is this Josh's time? It has to be. But he's already going for a move down the inside. Tactical move from the Ferrari. Can he cut back in underneath him? Rio pushes him wide. And Josh goes through. Josh goes through. Taking full advantage. Oh my god. Rio picks up a penalty which takes him off the podium. 1 sector to go. It's all kicking off here in Mexico. There's nothing Spinella can do. 2 corners to go. There is absolutely nowhere to put your car. Owen will win the race on track, but he will not be in the top 5. Josh wins. Here in Mexico. Spinella P2. Dylan P3 after a shock Rio Harris penalty on the last lap. Owen may not actually finish P5 and doesn't, obviously providing any penalty removals. Finishes P6 for now. Chaz will finish P7. Felix P8. Billy P9. Dion unfortunately reached the end to take P10. Nick will take P11. Luigi Sven P12. And ADS will round out the finishers in P13. Your other points finishers will be Soul Demon only, because Caron retired before the 80% mark. My god, my voice is dead. I hope you guys enjoy the entertainment out of my pain. Yeah, but that was a great race. Great race from everyone. Right to the very last. Right to the very last. With us not knowing who was going to win that one right until the end. Lovely stuff here in X3. Your final grid order then confirmed on screen. Josh winning from Spinala and then Dylan P3. Rio was P4, but it's just put him down at the bottom there. Here is the warnings for if and when the stewards would want them. My word, there's a lot of them. Achoo! Achoo! Oh, I'm right. Yes, that will conclude it then for today. Round 6 over, there is now a season break for 1 week before we return for Monza in 2 weeks' time. I have been Half Lap Harry. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you over on the Italian Riviera soon. Adios.